So, the last time we made a video about this topic, it was really like out of nowhere. We went onto NHLTradeTalk.com and we talked about one article that was written there just proposing the idea, and that video ended up getting 100,000 views, so I'm very reluctant to go out there and make another video about this topic because, you know, we already got our fair share of ad revenue last time. But there has indeed been an extended conversation brought up about this topic once again, so I guess we have no choice but to go out there and talk about Patrick Kane, Chicago Blackhawks superstar, 90-point player, $10.5 million AAV player for one more season, and the potential of him getting traded over to the Toronto Maple Leafs. The reason we're talking about this again is because not only has the social media discourse, I guess, of Kane and Toronto picked up tenfold the past few weeks, but we also had ourselves an article published on the Toronto Star by Damian Cox. Let the Patrick Kane to Maple Leafs talk begin! He's just the latest star that fans want in a Toronto uniform. Now, I get it, man. The Toronto Star, Damian Cox, they're not going out there and saying, oh, this is going to happen. There's some trade speculation saying that this is going to go down. It's just fans speculating and fans desiring this player to come over to the Maple Leafs, which is not the same as an actual trade rumor. But for the sake of covering our bases and talking about what the people are talking about, let's go over onto this article and actually read what it has to say. Damian Cox opens the conversation by talking about Kevin Durant and the Brooklyn Nets, and then he goes over the Toronto Maple Leafs and Patrick Kane. Kane, come on down. You're this year's contestant on the Will He Be a Leaf or Won't He show. Now, Cox goes out there and writes about it in a very tongue-in-cheek way to start off the article, talking about how this city has played this game with players like Stamkos and Tavares and all of them before, but it only makes Patrick Kane's speculation that much more intriguing as he enters the final season of his long-term contract with the Blackhawks. He would, in theory, be Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment's hockey version of Kawhi Leonard, the player from a championship team who could help a team that could never get very far in the playoffs get over the hump. And oh man, I haven't even made that connection until now. Thank you, Damian Cox, for going out there and illuminating such a crazy and bold idea that Kawhi Leonard, a superstar, a championship caliber player heading over to Toronto in his final season, who helped them get over the hump and win themselves the NBA championship, and his story might have the same sort of undertones as a Patrick Kane acquisition by the Toronto version of a hockey team instead of a basketball team. Oh my goodness. This is... dude! I was gonna make another video just talking about Kane, but like, I feel like I want to talk about Kawhi Leonard now. I'm not even the biggest basketball guy. I think everybody kind of knows this, but if you've tuned into the streams, you've watched all the stuff that we've done live here on the channel, and you've had a chance to talk to me about other sports and things that I'm interested in, I like anime, recreational sports, and action figures. I don't like any other sports, at least in the professional capacity. Like, I keep up with hockey, and that's about it. I don't know anything about basketball. I don't know anything about golf or baseball or whatever. And so when I saw the Toronto Raptors win the NBA championship back in, what the heck was it, 2019? I feel like it was 2019, right before the pandemic. And I was kind of just bandwagoning because everybody else in my city, you know, I live here in Vancouver, everybody loved the Raptors because they were Canada's team, right? And so I learned more about basketball in that 2-3 month span when they won the championship than I had in the rest of my entire gosh darn life. And so Kawhi Leonard and everything that he had been able to do with the Spurs before heading over to Toronto and leaving the team, and everybody just memeing around saying, oh, what if he didn't leave? What if he didn't go back home? What if he didn't go back to the Clippers and everything? Like, Patrick Kane? Is this the path we're going to go down and start talking about? Kane wins multiple championships as a member of the Blackhawks. He's one of the best players the NHL had seen in that decade. He gets sent over to Toronto. He plays a year. He wins a championship, whatever. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. And then he goes back home to Buffalo after everything is said and done. While a lot of Maple Leafs fans are saying, oh, like, stay in Toronto. We'll give you, like, I don't know, free passes and free dinners at restaurants, even though the Maple Leafs realistically would have no actual opportunity to re-sign a player of Patrick Kane's magnitude to a contract. The only way you're actually going to see Kane suit up in Toronto is going to be if there's some sort of a three-way trade. We talked about this idea with the Oilers and the Arizona Coyotes a few videos ago, where if Kane gets traded over to Arizona, at 50% retained, his 10.5 becomes, what is that, $5.25 million a season. And then if Kane gets traded from Arizona to Edmonton with another 50% retained, his ultimate cap hit would be $2.6-something million against the Oilers cap. But if there's a Toronto team in there that's trying to get it done instead, then, I mean, if there's a $2.6 million Patrick Kane-like asset, you can just trade away Kerfoot, and you would end up saving cap space by acquiring a player like that. But that's only if there is a double salary retained type of opportunity there in a trade. But either way, let's go back over onto the article over here. So there's a lot to gnaw on, and the gnawing has truly begun in earnest. There have been reports that the Leafs and Hawks have already discussed Kane. As well, former NHLer Paul Bissonnette, now the star of the Spit and Chicklets podcast, has loudly staked his reputation on his belief that Kane will be a Leaf this season. For his part, Kane has said nothing. His longtime partner in crime, Jonathan Toews, has made it clear he doesn't find Chicago's curious rebuilding project very appealing, and Hawks GM Kyle Davidson has acknowledged he isn't sure whether Kane and Toews are interested in hanging around, and Chicago prepares to take a steep dive in the NHL standings this season after finishing 6th from the bottom last year. Long story short, Connor Bedard, step right on up. Who really knows? Agent Pat Brisson represents both Kane and Toews, and he has gone on record saying that they are not necessarily in agreement with the direction the team is taking. That direction appears to be ripping the house down to the foundation, and starting from scratch after youngsters like Alex DeBrincat and Kirby Dach were dumped at the draft. Dylan Strome signed elsewhere, Peter Mrazek, Jack Johnson, Domi, and Athanasiou have all been brought in, and not to chase the cup. The rest of the article is available, as we said here, it's on the Star, and if you want to go ahead and read it, the link will be in the description below. But I wanted to talk just a little bit more about some of the other stuff that has been popping around here. This was a viral tweet that we had seen circulate on Twitter like crazy over the past few days. Take a look at this. Leafs Updates posted this a few days ago. Kyle Dubas and Kyle Davidson have had brief discussions surrounding Patrick Kane, and it's a graphic with the rumor on it. It has 1,000 likes, and a lot of people went out there and shared this image and said, oh my gosh, the Leafs are going to get Kane. It's Edmonton versus Toronto for the Kane sweepstakes, etc., etc. And, you know, I kind of like that Kawhi angle a lot more than I initially thought I would, thinking about it now, because the circumstances align so nicely for this to be a mirroring type of situation. It's just for Patrick Kane, you're going to have to go out there and win a cup in Toronto, because the Maple Leafs are not going to hold on to his services for an extended amount of time, and you're likely going to see the Leafs give up a significant haul or two to either one of the Blackhawks or whichever third team could get involved in there to facilitate a trade by retaining even more of Kane's salary, because I feel like that's the only way you're going to be able to get it done, because Kane is making 10.5. If you reduce that by 75%, you're remaining with 2.6 AAV, because heck, even if it is like $5.2 million a season on a year, that's still a pretty significant contract for a Toronto Maple Leafs team that is going to want to keep a good chunk of their roster already intact from now until after you get a Patrick Kane trade. Is 1 year of Patrick Kane at 50% retained instead of 75% retained enough to justify getting rid of some of your defensemen that are there, that are costing a significant amount of money, plus an Alex Kerfoot? It's kind of up in the air at this point as to what the Maple Leafs could realistically give up, when you're not talking about all the prospects and stuff that we discussed in the previous Kane to Toronto video. We had ideas going around there like Sandin and Robertson, etc., etc., and so with this discussion, you're still going to have to try to make the money work, and I really do think that a third team getting involved is the only way that's actually going to be plausible. But either way, talk in the comments your thoughts about the idea of Patrick Kane coming over to the Toronto Maple Leafs once again, and how he might be the hockey version of a Kawhi Leonard success story, from a Raptors team that was struggling to get over that hump to a Maple Leafs team that is trying to get past the first round. I have no doubt that a team with the big four in Nylander, Marner, Matthews, and Tavares, plus that Patrick freaking Kane, plus a Michael Bunting, plus a whoever the heck else is going to be there, is probably good enough, bearing whatever defense and goaltending issues you want to go out there and say this team has, to make it past the first round. And if by some miracle the Toronto Maple Leafs Matt Murray goes out there and becomes the Matt Murray of old, then maybe you have an even bigger chance of going out there and actually making some damage here in the playoffs in 2023. But we'll get there when we get there, and whether or not Patrick Kane is a part of the team, that remains to be seen. Talk to me in the comments, though, all your thoughts about Patrick Kane and the Toronto Maple Leafs. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.